And here we are now live for yet another week of conversational chaos and mildly meandering musings on any topic that really comes up. At the moment, it's the three amigos basically. We have Bill Slawski and we have Terry, and we're hoping some of the guests are going to be jumping in a little while, and Kristin should be around somewhere soon too. So let's kick off in our usual style. Bill, what have you been up to this week?
Hey, I've been working on putting together a meetup presentation for tonight. I've worked with Barbara Starr in finding patents that are relevant to Google's knowledge graph. And we've set the presentation up to be sort of like a discussion, a two-person panel, where we talk about different topics related to the knowledge graph in Google and show some of the patents that we think that are relevant to them and show some pictures from those, things like Buy Now button and so on, and include some quotes. And preparing it was really turned out well. It was a lot of fun. I'm waiting for the presentation itself tonight, which I think will be a lot of fun too.
Well, as long as you get people who get it and don't think, hang on, they're talking to... You'd think they'd have talked about it and prepared before they turned up. What? Terry, what have you been up to this week?
Oh, same as every week, working away at it, working on the video, planning and, figuring stuff out, getting ready.
How's the video editing been going?
Oh, pretty good. Learning more every day, getting better at it.
What software are you using? Because I know it's something a lot of people often ask.
Camtasia, really simple. Lots of included stuff to do the pre-roll and whatnot. It's pretty good. Easy to figure out. If I can figure it out, anybody can. Dave showed me some stuff in Premiere, but 6 months later, I didn't remember any of it. It's too complicated, right? If you can't remember. So I'd work with what I know. And I'll probably, this week, add some captions using Google's tools for adding the social at the end and extending a bit more. But it's working pretty good, figuring some things out. They changed how they do playlists and whatnot. Before you just group them, and they did it. Now it's a separate video that you can call them one at a time or as a playlist. So that's kind of interesting. Play with that a little this week, probably.
Cool. Must admit, I can do quite a bit with this software XSplit that I use to do all the backgrounds and stuff like that. But when I'm doing actual editing, getting it down to the frames, I must admit I use Lightworks, which is one of the open source ones. You can do professional level stuff with it. It will do pretty much anything I want it to.
Yeah.
But bit of a learning curve.
Yeah. Well, Camtasia too does the screen, captures the screen. So I use that for some tutorials. Already know the software, you can use it for a lot of stuff. So.
Yeah. Hey Steve, first time joining us. Good to see you.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
Not too bad. Let me just boost up your mic a bit there, because that was seeming quiet to me. There we go. That should
have to do that.
It's probably just that everyone seems quiet after Terry,
Probably.
So, Steve, joining us for the first time. What you been up to in the past week? What's a week of Steve look like?
A week of Steve. Work or just general? Work is out of control as usual, which is good. We like that. It's nice to find clients that are, willing to spend a lot of money and then find out that they have no idea what they're spending it on. So when you come in and do what we consider basic everyday tasks for clients and say, you know, how do you calculate the value of a lead? And they go, what's that? You know that you're going to be able to do some really good stuff for them. So it's great. I love it.
Yeah, your volume is coming through very low here, even with the boost.
Let me see what I can do here.
Cool. My week has been quiet this week, really. Sort of a few bits and pieces, sorting out some new contracts. I've had a couple of people. I've always turned down doing anything for a stake in the company. You know, if people want to employ me, I'd rather have the cash most of the time. Because, hang on, what you're paying me in, stake in the company, is only worth something if I put in the effort. I could just start up my own thing and put in that effort and own all of it. That's how I kind of looked at it in the past. But I must admit, maybe it's just me getting older, but I'm getting to the point where I think, you know what, I wouldn't mind having a few stakes in a few things that are out there and getting a bit more involved.
Yeah, I've been. Is this better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Much.
Okay. I switched microphones. Yeah, I've been in that. I've been that route a couple of times, and it's interesting because you're getting to try new things that you normally wouldn't have tried on your own. I've long-term success in those types of projects has never been really great for various reasons, but I find myself picking and choosing once in a while, every now and then, another project to work on with just one or two very specific people, just because I want to work with that person, not so much because I think the business is going to make a lot of money or whatever, but it's like they've got a really neat product idea, or it's just somebody I want to work with. Actually making a lot of money at it's kind of incidental. It's great if it happens, not a big deal if it doesn't.
Yeah. I must admit, I've often had sort of. I have a couple of charity projects on the go at any time. I've always believed, there should be 2 charity projects going on always. Sometimes, it goes up to 3. I think my cat, the most I ever had was 5, and that was simply because I sort of scheduled a load, and then some of them didn't finish when they were supposed to finish, and some of them started a bit early. But
right.
I've always tried to have 5 things that I'm doing that are for the good, Now those I've been involved with things, but it's I want to work with that person. I really believe in what they're trying to build. I haven't done it on the the professional level. It's always been there's clients I will take even when I'm busy because I believe in what they're doing and I like what they're doing. I've always been very fussy about which clients I'll take anyway. But actually sort of going with a stake rather than, look, this is what I cost and I can give you a small discount, but that's new.
Yeah. But I kind of got burned out of the partnership deals or pay for performance deals when we worked with a cosmetics company years ago and took them from no website at all to doing $100,000 a month in sales. And we hit that level, and they went and looked at how much they were paying us every month for that, and they decided that their little cousin Timmy could do the same thing we were doing for $100 a month. And they ended the contract, and we put a lot of effort into that. And so when they came back to us 9 months later, and they were back down to doing $10,000 a month in sales, the whole deal was like, no, this is what you're going to pay us monthly, and no more partnerships because you can't be trusted to maintain the partnership. And that's kind of what burned me on the whole scenario to begin with when it involves money. So now I don't look at the money side of it. Yeah.
People do that. They kind of, when their company isn't worth a lot, they decide that you can have it. But as it goes up, they suddenly expect you to scale down. Well, hang on.
Yeah.
You took the risk.
Yeah.
The risk was it could have stayed worth the same, which was you getting underpaid by a huge amount.
Yeah, you loved me when I worked for 6 months for free.
Yeah. Bill, you done anything along those sort of lines?
Working for a stake in a company?
Yeah.
No, I can't say that I have. I've worked with clients who maybe couldn't afford to pay much because they've had interesting projects going on, and I try to help them with those, but not, work for equity.
Cool. I'll let you know how it goes on. It's one of those ones that certainly has been interesting to me. So it never appealed in the past, but I'm getting to that point where I'm thinking, yeah, it would be nice to sort of have a few investments for my old age.
Yeah, that'd be nice if that actually pans out.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who's been reaping some investments recently is, of course, Google, because there's been this news all this week about it's an overreaction. It's the whole thing about Chrome automatically installing the update, which made everyone notice that it's now able to listen in on your mic at any time. Well, yeah, if you've done Google Now, that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you've adjusted your privacy settings in the past to say don't do this, it still didn't do it. But it's downloaded the update, and it seems to have got a lot of people's panties in a twist.
There's a startup called Shazam that supposedly it's a music search engine, and you can ask it what the song is playing right now.
It's been around a while, that one.
It's been around for a while. It's really popular, and there's at least one ex-Shazam CEO who's now working for Google. Right.
Yeah.
There are Google patents that deal with media consumption history.
Yeah, listening to what you got on the TV, what you got on the radio. So.
Right. So they might show specialized knowledge graphs when you're doing searches that have to do with the entities that you've listened to songs from or watched movies from. And they may show personalized content in those based upon your media history.
Yeah. And it's got to be good for them when you say who plays such and such a character, and there might be lots of characters with that name. But if that's at the same time as a TV program, or better still, you're using voice search and they can hear that in the background, they know exactly who you mean and why you want to know.
Yeah. Quite
I think
likely.
that is going to be interesting. Also, I think Google Now, the ability for it to know, hey, you're driving, I can hear the car engine.
I want to take control. Give me control.
Well, I'm thinking of it giving you less notifications when it notices you're driving. I think that would be a brilliant safety feature, and that strikes me as the kind of thing that Google would come up with.
Google Now disappointed me once, though, and I'm sure it's probably happened to lots of people, but my car was in the shop, and I was walking to the garage to pick my car up, and Google Now gave me an estimated time of arrival at the shop, so it knew where I was going. It just didn't realize I was walking there.
Yeah. Well, you're going to a car garage. Why would you go without a car?
Right.
My
biggest.
If you remembered to let it know when you were going to drop the car off, it might have remembered that you didn't have the car.
I know my biggest issues out here is Google Local, because the three nearest towns to me are Lexington, Tennessee, Savannah, Tennessee, and Jackson, Tennessee. Well, unfortunately, there's a Savannah, Georgia, and a Lexington, Kentucky, and a Jackson, Mississippi. So when I type in a search for lawyers in Lexington, I don't get anything based on where I live. I get them based on Kentucky. It's horrible.
That really surprises me, because they've been using IPs so much to. Have you been worried about their settings? Have you got your privacy?
Oh, No, I even improved the settings and said, "Here, no, please use my information." It's just hysterical to just see just how. I mean, right now I just started typing in lawyers Lexington, and it autofills Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, but not Tennessee.
Oh,
I have to manually put the TN in every single time, and it's like, come on, please, seriously, as much of the crap that I do that you do track, the one thing I actually want you to track, you don't do, or if you do it horribly.
That is just typical of the way these things work out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it the size of those cities? Or their
I'm sure it is.
Right?
I mean, you got to figure. The town I live in is 800 people.
Right.
And the nearest major town is 18,000 people. So for me to go to McDonald's, it's a 40-minute car ride. So I'm kind of used to some of those issues, but you look at it and it's like, come on, seriously, I use the same browser, the same logins. Everything is the same. How could you possibly not get this?
Yeah. Hey, Fabrizio, I saw that you were saying you did the same search Bill was talking about on Google.
Yeah.
No need for Shazam anymore, Bill. They've already incorporated it.
Yeah, exactly. And the point is that Shazam have quite a big business in terms of then feeding you into where you can buy from Google Play stores and so on. But now you can. I was watching the Hunger Game movie, and they simply asked who's singing this song, and I think it's the tap function within Google now, and now they can answer that, which is kind of.
Did anyone else read the story about Taylor Swift and her basically telling Apple to jam it and them relenting and they're going to pay her? They're
going to pay everybody.
When people signed on to their service for a trial, they weren't paying the artists.
That's right.
So
They're going to go
the
through.
Artist was giving their stuff for free. Like, that's Apple, right? That's over the boundaries. I was watching a show the other day. Like, we're having another disruption in the music industry, where now iTunes is being flipped for just straight streaming. Like, people don't even want to pay $1 anymore. They want to stream it for next to nothing. Like, there's no way. They basically said that now anybody who decides to be a musician is doomed to live at the poverty level, basically. That there used to be a thriving middle class, right? Now it's all or nothing.
I must admit, I sometimes wonder how many of the next generation are all doomed to be at the poverty level. It does sometimes seem that you're either an entrepreneur these days, or your wages are never going to be good working with somebody else anymore, unless you're, absolute C-level and a scapegoat.
Yeah, well, everyone's going to buy everything from Google. That's what the buy button's about.
Right? Not if Amazon can help it, or Apple, or Microsoft.
Yeah.
What do you think of Microsoft's next generation Windows 10 free?
Well, they finally got smart. Most of them probably are pirate anyways.
Well, that's how they got big to begin with.
Yeah.
They allowed an awful lot of piracy and kind of looked the other way at it for years until it was so pervasive and everybody was using Microsoft Office. Then they started going around saying, time for you to start registering your copy of Microsoft Office. And it was, as far as I'm concerned, a brilliant marketing plan. And I think that's exactly what they're doing here. Is they're trying to get everybody to move up to the same code base to get people off of Windows 95 and Windows 98 and Windows ME and get all those people to migrate to Windows 10 because it's free. Wow. And it'll streamline their company a lot if they can do that.
well, they're also dropping support for a lot of that stuff. Like ASP, basically, the language that you wrote it in, right? No longer supported. So a language that ran most of Microsoft for, most of its time, they just said, yeah, we're doing this other thing now, and y'all can just move along. That's why I said, no, I think I'll do something else. See ya.
It does seem like a lot of the companies have been moving away from charging for the software itself and instead charging for access to the cloud to store all the files you create on the software.
Here's the thing, Ammon. I have done that. Like, they give away, the operating system, but if people subscribe so they can get Outlook on it, right? It's very little. Like, I think I paid $95 for the year. But here's the thing, also came with a DNS server. So I also manage all my mail through that same account, where before I would have literally thousands of dollars, to pay for the servers to house the mail. Now I do it all off the cloud for pennies. Like it's again another shift in everything. So I think it's brilliant by them, because now they're probably going to make more money off of the subscriptions and SaaS model, right? It's a lot more predictable. It'll also make the stock a really good buy because of the built-in subscriptions, right?
Well, I know this kind of plays against one of John Moore's absolute bugbears is, people offering stuff that should be custom built and built well for free or a minimum amount. It's like these $10 websites or $1 websites. Is this in danger of being the same sort of thing? What do you think, John?
Yeah, well, you get what you pay for, right? But there are just parts of, for me, there are just, there are things that I have no trouble with being free, but when it comes to, websites is one of my big pet peeves, is something you're going to use for business, and you need to address so many other issues that it's very hard to do that free, and you end up with people having things that really aren't worth anything, and they don't even know it.
I kind of see the logic with the websites in a way, because if you think about it, they're making their money on the hosting. How do they make sure you keep buying the hosting? By making sure you have a website that you really appreciate. So, although I think at the moment it's a bit too, the level that they build isn't good enough. I don't think it's the model that's broken. I think it's simply their ability to deliver a really good website.
Right.
Well, also, part of delivering a really good website has nothing to do with the website technology. That's pretty ubiquitous. It has to do with whether it really meets the demands of your business. I know you and Vince are really pounding on that very concept a lot in your show, and that's exactly where it falls apart for those kind of cheap websites, is that those issues, the issues that you and Vin have been talking about, are totally bypassed. It's like they're ignored, and the customer thinks that they have something of value for their business when in fact they do not. Yeah. So the very thing that is valuable is totally ignored, and the customer doesn't know that. It's one thing to say, here, we'll get you a website, and it isn't worth anything until you do a lot of other stuff. But right now it's worth nothing, but you still have to do this other stuff, but we'll get you started. I mean, that would make some sense, that okay, here's the basic shell, but for it to be meaningful for your business, You have to do all of this other stuff. We don't do that for you, but we'll point you in the right direction. Okay, that makes some sense, but that isn't what they're saying. In their marketing and everything, it's, here's your website, you're done, check it off, move on, do something else. And that's, to me, deceptive. And people don't realize that they really haven't done the part that's important.
It is kind of the Vista print of websites, isn't it? You know, we do cheap printing to these templates, and with business cards it works.
I think Vista Print is offering websites these days. So.
They are.
Technology.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. Everybody, if I looked at the marketing materials of anybody that has anything to do with graphics, printing, anything, one of the lines on their marketing is, and we do websites.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like everybody does websites.
Yep.
How could that be? I mean, and really in terms of quality and meeting the customer's demands. I just, you know.
Well, I mean, years ago when, I want to say probably about 98, 99, 2000, I actually partnered up with print companies. And you know, that's where I got the bulk of my web business back then. Was I had an office that was, you know, inside of a print company's building. And whenever their marketing people would go out and say, we could do your business cards, your T-shirts, your flyers, your letterhead, your website, all of it. And they actually had people that were able to do all those different things in-house. And it was great, because then I could do the same for them. When, you know, we get the website all built, it's like, by the way, do you need business cards? Our other division does do that. So I don't have such a big issue with that. I mean, everybody's gotten a lot more specialized since then. But I understand the process behind it, because it is technically still in the marketing and graphic design niche, depending on what your target goal is for your website. If you're doing just a brochure-style website, or if you're going to be doing something like Realtor.com, you've got two totally different goals, so I can see needing different providers. Yeah.
No, the model that you just described makes sense based on what I know of you and your background and everything. But oftentimes some of those people come to our meetups, and I talk to them, and I discover how little they know and how little that they've considered in terms of serving the business. And that is when I become concerned, because they are saying they build websites, yet I talk to them, and I don't try to corner them. I just say, and what do you do? You know, I try to share with them, and I discover that none of those issues are addressed by them. And that's when I go, ooh, oh no.
When the common website was the kind of brochure, it made sense for printers to do it, because that's who was the most qualified in brochures. That's who would be building brochures. These days, there's so many more aspects to a site. You know, let's face it, most sites are dynamic, admittedly. Personally, I don't think most need to be, as you know, but most sites are dynamic. And when you're working with WordPress, it's much more like dealing with you kind of want a construction company, you know, somebody who builds modular shops. Because everything that goes into that kind of thinking, how are people going to work around this? What kind of space do you need for the customers? What kind of storage space do you need? All of those kind of real-world systems when you're building a physical place of work, they have their virtual equivalent, don't they?
Someone who's doing that, though, in my opinion, they don't have a website, so anything is better than what they got. And the other guys, they're trying to sell services. Like, if you think you can get a website for $1, I'm pretty sure people go into it knowing what they're going to get for $1. Like, seriously. But, you know, they'll at least have email then. I know people who... I have a client who is in the printer business, right? They had someone that was a printer company. They fixed printers. They did not even have an email address. That's how old school they were. I don't know how they stayed in business, but they did.
What did they have? Fax number?
Yeah, fax and yeah, and telephone. You know, they did business the old way. And, you know, I said to her, well, give me his number. I'll give him a call and I'll give him, you know, help him out. She said, no, he's not interested. But that's, businesses in Canada are a little different because the internet's not got a good name with small business here.
It's funny, isn't it? You know, email, the @ symbol, everyone has come to associate with email, and it works. Can you imagine if fax had taken off in the same way, and everyone was saying, "Hey, F me." Here's my F address.
That's just old school business people who, you know, they have their client base. They ain't really looking to expand, or, you know, they can cover what they got. I can see that. You know, it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. And like I said, they can at least now, even if it's a free website, someone can put their name in and Google will probably find it. Good chance of it.
Yeah.
Unless you live by me, in which case you won't find it.
So,
Well, for me, it has a lot to do with just basically kind of the truth in advertising. And what I rail against is not that somebody got a free website, but that they thought they were getting more than, you know, because like the web.com, I don't know if you've seen the web.com commercials, but they clearly they try to make it clear that you're getting a free website, and it's going to promote you on the web, and it's going to make money. They put the big dollar sign up. They do the whole thing. I mean, they promote the whole illusion that their website that they're doing for free for you is going to do all these things for your business. That is what I object to, not the free website. If they said, hey, we'll put up a free website for you, and that's just the beginning, you're going to have to do a whole bunch of other stuff, that's just the beginning, then I would say, okay, fine. You get what you pay for, and you know you're going to have to do a lot more to get where you want to go.
John, this is a company that's advertising on TV, right?
Right.
Well, there you go. It does everything that their website does. Nothing that you have to advertise on TV.
No, I know it, but people, it is creating that perception that this is how you can do it.
It's a little bit like the illusion created by companies like GoDaddy that offer search engine submission services. And you know, they're claiming that they'll submit your website to over 100 search engines.
John, let me just say this though, right? It's not just those companies, because I know web designers that do the exact same thing, right? Exactly.
Oh yeah, no,
You know,
I agree.
And those guys are even more you know, they're even worse because they do know better, and they're not really
I agree.
presenting, you know, the true facts. Like I've only seen a commercial for Wix.com, right? And it says that you have to keep paying them, and they'll promote your site. Now it's automated promotion, but hey, there's a lot of SEOs out there doing it for the same price. Like, I don't begrudge these big companies a frickin' thing. I applaud them, you know, because they're providing a service that someone is buying. Like, that those people don't really understand, like, what the kind of an asset it really is. Like, they should watch your webinar there. I believe, you know, so strongly that that's my first in-house project will be something along the same lines, because there's a bunch of small businesses there that I'm pretty sure don't have a website, and I want to do something for them really, you know, really good. So
yeah.
I think
it's basically the same thing as what you're telling me. But I'll be there to answer questions ongoing at the center, right?
Yeah, go ahead, Fabrizio.
Sorry, I think it's about perception and what I think I agree on what is wrong is the way these people, because they have the opportunity, they have a strong customer base. For example, I don't work on with small business, but I come from Italy, so it's mainly small business in Italy. One of the biggest web marketing agencies now selling websites is the Yellow Pages, the old Yellow Pages. They're fooling people to sell website. And someone that is calling me and is sending a sales rep to build my website, I think it's not someone I should trust. But obviously because people are not well educated, or in general, most of the people, they barely, they have a phone. Some of them have a fax if they have a small business in Italy, sometimes not. And these people, obviously, because they have their customer base, they listed them on the Yellow Pages. Now they're selling web services, but this is bad because it's giving light. I mean, helping these people to sell bad services and not educating people on the right thing. Because most of the small business I talk to, they don't know what they have. So they all disillusioned by internet, saying, "Oh, it's not working." Yeah, if you have a website built by the Yellow Pages but no one left, and you paid 300 quid, as Bill said, to be listed on Google, yeah, you will be on Google. Anyone is going to be on Google anyway. But trust me that they're still making a lot of money on. It's not that people are ignorant. It's just in general, small business struggles to get educated enough on these topics, and that's where these people can leverage what their customer.
Fabrizio, I've gotten phone calls from salesmen from the Yellow Pages, and they had already looked up who they thought my competitors were, and were telling me that my competitors were outranking me in Google. And I told them, "Hey, look, I've lived here 2 weeks. I'm not number one against this competitor. I'm number 2. Well, he's got a couple years head start on me."
Yeah. In 6 months' time, you'll be number 2 in all over him.
Yeah.
Give me a week.
Let me pull up a couple of questions, a couple of comments from the audience, because they've been sitting there a while. Aaron Segal said those companies don't do websites, the brochure companies. They do digital brochures. It's images with information, and there's nothing web functional about them other than the price, which, yeah, that's absolutely what I was saying. And it's what I've got against a lot of the WordPress sites that are being built out there. They're not using the dynamics of the site. They're not doing anything with it that you couldn't be doing with a static site, except the fact that, this is them putting up a page you can update yourself. Well, great, but do you know what? You can learn to update web pages yourself and be a lot better off for it. So most of the time, don't go with WordPress until you've learned HTML and have the choice. Don't be forced to go down a route you didn't need. William says he sees companies...
Wait, you said not to do WordPress? Because you told me when I was starting out, you said go to WordPress.
I told
and
you
said don't even do the org, you said do the .com.
First thing I told you was learn HTML.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
First thing you said was try the WordPress.com.
I said you can. You asked specifically, can I just do that? And I said, yeah, you can.
Okay.
But you're going to need to learn HTML.
Hey, can you two take this offline?
I'm going to refer back to the discussion with Carlos and the rest of them, where you've got to learn HTML. It's something I've said to everybody. Zara's in the audience today, and it is one of the things that I always tell people: learn HTML. It will never be a bad thing. It's always going to help you, because do you know what? WordPress is great, but you need to tweak it. You need to make your own changes. You have to make this unique to you. Now, you've got 2 ways of doing that. You can pay a really good developer $10,000 to do it for you, or you can learn some HTML and be able to do it yourself.
I also love going to people and saying, Ammon won't teach me this. He just says to go to the CS3 or whatever that site is. And so, I do that.
Kristin, I will happily teach you anything you like. I will send over my hourly rates. And as soon as that money's in the account, I will teach you anything you like. just can't do it for free. It's one of those things. One of the things I loved about the old days of the forums is we were able to teach a fair amount, because if we gave one person that tip, the thread stayed and it could help hundreds more later. So it was kind of efficient. There was somebody, when Rand Fishkin did a big interview, there was a lady from Create a Site that came over and said, I've been following Ammon ever since he helped me do JavaScripts. She had embedded JavaScripts in the page, and I taught her how to make it an external file. And it took a little while. I had to show exactly where to make the cuts from, having the script tags to, no, you don't need the script tags, you can just do this bit, you don't need the commenting out, just do this bit. It took 13 pages of code when she printed it out to show her exactly what needed to be done. But once she had it, she knew it, she could do it every single time for herself, and she was then helping others in the forum. And I love that kind of pay it forwards aspect. I don't see as much of that on Google Plus or any of the social networks as I had hoped I would see. Does anyone else find the same thing?
I don't know.
I agree.
I can't say that because
agree.
I learned from all of you.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of the things that I miss from the old forum days, because I used to, in the 90s, be part of a group called Team B, which was associated with Borland International. And I did just kind of what you were talking about. I spent probably 2 hours a day helping people programming, helping people use the Borland products, which were primarily IDEs, development environments, for Delphi and Java and C++ and whatnot. And that's what I did.
Yeah. It depends partially on where you go in Google Plus, because the semantic web communities are reaching out and helping people, showing them how to write stuff like JSON-LD to produce markup.
That's good.
Pages. Yeah.
I'm seeing some of it, but what I'm still, even in the semantic search community, for every time I see a piece of code posted, I've seen 10 people who simply link you to a page that's got all that somewhere else. We're still kind of building the pages, and I think with forums, we were more content for the forum page itself to be that web page.
Right.
We had faith it would stand around and still be indexable, and I think we don't have that with social media platforms.
Yeah, that's because they had widgets that allowed you to put code into the page. It's very hard to write it if you don't know how. So as code that it'll show.
The bulletin board code? BB code?
Yeah.
The square brackets? Yeah.
Oh, no, I meant most of the forum software, right?
Right.
When you were doing a post and you were adding code, you could put it in a special box so that it would display properly. So it was a lot easier to add it, and it would also scroll where instead of wrap, right? So it's easier to follow, too.
Yeah, the equivalent of the code tags in HTML.
Right. Oh, right. I forgot about that.
I love using CSS to style that, so that I'll always have my code be displayed in something like Courier, a monospaced font, so that they can see exactly where the line breaks are. I will often have it in a green font, so it just instantly says, right, this is the code. You can see straight away. I think it's worth doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Finn, are we keeping you awake there?
Indeed.
He's relaxing, getting ready for tomorrow, because we've got a big show tomorrow.
Yeah. Just checking in, hanging out, listening to what's going on.
Well, we're kind of doing the thing tomorrow on a lot of what we've been talking about today about online presence and what it means. And I must admit, I'm looking forward to it because I do think it is something people really struggle with. It's rare you see somebody that gets the. Most people just don't have enough presence, but there are people who have too much of the wrong kind and not enough of the right kind.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I think there are a number of small businesses. I think there are a number of small businesses that need to be tied to a chair and watch you guys' show.
Wow.
You make us sound like a torture.
Well,
Wow.
no, it's just that there's just so much there it's so important. I mean, I enjoy the show and I hear a lot of things I've heard a million times, but it doesn't matter. You can't hear it too much because if you're not doing it, then it's not getting through.
I'll tell you what the sad part is that a lot of the people who really need it the most, we kind of invited to the first couple of shows, and they were the ones that were saying no. The ones who really were struggling with marketing strategy, who we'd seen, they think that social media is doing wonders for their SEO. We carefully invited these people, and they were the first ones to say no, they don't need to know it. And it's such a shame.
Wow. They're learning how to do a website, they learn HTML, they learn quote-unquote search engine optimization, they learn how to use social media tools. What they didn't learn was what marketing and sales is. And because all these things in and of themselves are just tools. And if you don't understand how they're used in the context of getting somebody to buy something from you, then you're not really a marketer. You're just someone who understands a tool. And, it's really what we're talking about here is piecing it all together, connecting the dots so that people understand that, all right, if you want to be on page 1, what does that mean? What if someone goes to your website and they hate your website? Great, you're on page 1. They're not sticking around. They don't pick up the phone and call. They just don't understand how the loop works, how the process of connecting with people works. And
often, Ben, in many cases, those people are business people who don't have marketing experience or training, who learn a few tricks that they think will help them along the way, and keep on repeating those tricks.
Yep.
So then, for those people, it seems like it'd be advantageous to employ or delegate the actual interaction part to someone who likes being that liaison.
They sometimes don't know enough to know to do that.
Yeah.
I remember my father decided to have a web presence. He bought hosting from a company that gave him a templated website. They allowed him to upload some pictures and some text and so on. And it was really miserable.
I think it's not only down to small business, because I mainly work with large companies, and sometimes these people, when there's a big social department, big SEO department, they forget the basics. So it's not, and even the webinar I've seen about your website as a business asset, it may be a joke, but some very large corporations, sometimes by the way they act, when the structure gets so big, they forget it, which is, it may seem ridiculous, but someone's goal is to use that tool and be very little social, but then there's someone else somewhere else in the world doing SEO, and this connecting this thing together, if large corporation put more effort in solving this.
The thing we see on places like Google Plus a lot, of course, is the opposite of the kind that Bill was talking about. Instead of a business where they don't get social and they're not very good at that, you've got the person who does enjoy social and is therefore trying to convince themselves that it's also worthwhile. Yeah, I can spend 3-4 hours a day on this and it's really worthwhile. It's much better than spending 3-4 hours a day on strategy, business, marketing. And it's
I know, I could do lawyering That's what I went to school for, but I can do social media instead.
Yeah.
And why do all these people link to me from all these spammy websites? I don't understand.
And I think the instant results are kind of what throw people off, isn't it? It's, oh look, 5 people liked this, whereas we don't see that with our web page so easily. And do you know what? It's 5 people. You can do nothing with that. That's not going to keep you in business.
You know, I posted something yesterday. I put together a cheat sheet for my dental clients. They want their office manager or whoever to get on social media, so I put together a fairly extensive, you know, now you're here, what do you do, kind of a cheat sheet. And at the front of it, I actually said, you know, remember these 3 principles: be giving, be fun, and be real. And I know we talk about transparency, authenticity, all that other stuff, but when you really peel it back, the last thing people want to really pay attention to on Facebook when they're on Facebook is the need to floss your teeth, that you need to brush 3 times a day, pictures of cavities and teeth surgery. This isn't social. You know, this isn't how to attract an audience on a particular medium when it's social network. And so when I say be social, what I mean is don't talk about your business. Be social. And then people will get to know you and your business, and then you can talk about your business. But if you're talking about Facebook and these things, you know, be social. When you're consulting with somebody who's sitting in your chair, well, be dental, you know. But the mistake that's being made is, again, they're out there on the tool, and they're using the tool like they use the newspaper. They post an ad. You know, these things have a functionality. There's a purpose to them. And the purpose is primarily driven by the people using the tool, right? Not the businesses, but the consumers, the people, the users of Facebook. And Facebook is one solution, is paying attention to that. And so all these social networks, even peer-to-peer, when you're networking and meeting people, you know, you don't want to just go diving into a social party online and tell everybody how awesome you are. It doesn't work.
Wow, I think I just totally got something, like a reason why my family stopped paying attention to my Facebook. Because I have all my Google Plus skills like going in there with friends with me, and a lot of it is, you know, business or marketing, you know, related.
Don't want it.
When that should be an ad.
They don't want it.
Do you know what? I'm going to disagree with you, Finn. I think that the dentist could actually do really well by talking about flossing. Every time somebody posts a damn picture of their lunch, they should reply with a picture of a toothbrush.
They should have some way to automate that.
You've eaten, now brush your teeth.
You know, it's like
Facebook, if they were responsible, they would do that.
You know, what's funny about dentistry is nobody likes dentistry. You go, you know, as a matter of course, either you want a prettier smile or you're in an excruciating amount of pain. Nobody wants to read articles on tooth decay, you know, and everybody wants to drink Gatorade. They don't want to hear that it's bad for your teeth. They just don't. So that's not the way to win friends and influence people.
Well, not always, yeah. I must admit, you know, it could be amusing that, you know, maybe the next thing after the dentist is, you know, a sewage treatment plant that says, yeah, you don't want us posting pictures of that when we get it.
You don't believe in the concept of being scared straight, huh?
Social media is one of the trickiest ones. I mean, we've all had arguments about, you know, how do you prove the ROI? How do you even, should you even worry about the ROI of social media? And from one point of view, yes, you should. You should worry about the ROI of everything, because otherwise you're probably wasting your time. There are some things where you can't get the numbers, but you still need to know it's doing something worthwhile for you, or it's a hobby. Enjoy it, but don't call it work, and don't do it during work time. And I think 80% of those who think they're doing social media for their business, you know what? You're not. You're having a bit of lunchtime fun. Now, that's great if it's keeping your spirits up and helping you do the things that are working for you. Go for it. Sometimes it's helping you get links, which is helping you in search, but not the way you think. It's more circuitous. You know, the links in social media aren't doing much for you. It's the fact that for every person that shares, well, for every 3 or 4 people that share, probably one of them is also either they've got a page somewhere that is reproducing their shares. You know, those people that have their Twitter feeds on their websites and stuff like that. Well, that link can be indexed by Google because it's on your page. Mm-hmm. So that's where some of this success is coming from, that people say, oh, look, every time I do social, it's really working out for me. Well, yes, it is, and probably because you're in a very small niche where just a couple of tweets being picked up on a web page is doing you great. But you know what? Mm-hmm. Don't try and sell music online on the basis of a little bit of social media linkage. It's yeah, in big term juice, there's nothing. And back in the day, you know, for me, the benchmark was always, look, if you do a search for your keywords and there are less than 1 million results, you've got no competition whatsoever. If you have less than 1 million competitors, this is what we define as easy pickings. It's only when you're into the tens of millions that it really starts to get to where you need a professional SEO.
So then a Twitter widget would be, that would be okay, that would be admissible. I know you're not big on widgets, but that would be like one. That would be...
Make sure that it's embedding it into the code, yeah. Yeah. Make sure it's not just having an iframe to Twitter, because then it won't necessarily help you.
Okay.
Cool. Well, you know, I monitor a community, and Marilyn monitors a community, and one of the things that we discuss oftentimes is people posting, you know, links and stuff, and then if you take the time to, you know, you remove their post because it's just a link, and you take the time to explain to them that that's really not the purpose of what you should be doing here. You should be trying to be helpful. You should be trying to be doing all these kinds of things. Oftentimes they'll come back and say, no, this is what you do. I mean, there's a thought out there that is pervasive that just blasting and broadcasting is equal to social, and it's really pervasive. It's I see it constantly. I get, and if anybody here also moderates a community, you get dozens and dozens of these kinds of spam posts on communities every day, and so there's a lot of people who are just not getting it.
Who would have thought that? Ammon?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the biggest things at Creator Site, the headache of dealing with spam. There were hundreds of posts of spam per day, and this is after we had a lot of things that, I mean, some of them just couldn't be made at all. We had captures, we had things like that. And even despite that, there were hundreds of posts a day. We had filters that helped and other things, but it was still hours of work a day just in making sure that the spam wasn't there.
Yeah.
Although we did have some fun with some of the ones that snuck through, didn't we, Bill, over the years?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You know, you get somebody starting a thread. I just discovered this great thing, and then you go back through their profile. Funny, you registered it. Funny how you didn't find it before when you were building it. You know, it was so obvious sometimes that they were promoting their own site, and our community were great. We used to have a lot of fun at the expense of spammers.
We still go through that over at Web Pro World. I'm still a moderator over there. And from time to time, you'll get somebody who has, you know, SEO guru in their signature, and they're asking basic questions. And so you just pull enough information out of them to find out who the client is, and then send an email to the client with a link to that forum thread.
We used to get some of that, obviously, and sometimes you get the ones where they're, of course, playing the tag team game, where they do know the answer. They're only asking the question so they can come in with their second Puppet account in a little while
Yep.
and drop a link to their own article somewhere else.
Yep.
Which,
At least those guys were making an effort.
It was so obvious in so many of the cases that it wasn't much of an effort.
No. But for a start, you could often just search a couple of other forums for the same question, and oh look, there's the same guy asking the same question in 3 other forums.
And there's the same
we
guy
talk to
answering.
each other.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the things that made the forums such a social form, is that many of the forums did communicate with each other. We shared members. You know, there was a lot of camaraderie back then that I don't see to the same extent with some of the blog communities today. Which is a shame. Oh, I just noticed the time. Well, we better do a quick round of what everyone is up to in the coming week, because we've gone to the hour. It was past this week. Who was last? Vin, I think you were the last one to join us. What are you up to this week, apart from tomorrow, of course?
I am actively pursuing the ability to do some presentations to discuss actually quite a bit of what we just talked about in front of localized the dental societies. There's a major dental society in the state, and then there's local, and they have meetings, and I'm trying to get into some of these meetings.
Cool. I was thinking, look, there's a man poised for active pursuit. You're getting the rest in first. We understand. Fabrizio, what are you up to this week?
I'm gonna build, or we are about to build a attribution model for an e-commerce client, mainly because they end up sucking all the brand and they don't want to invest in anything that is slightly close to awareness. And this is just to explain how slowly they keep building on brands and there's no investment into what have to create customer, and the brand will die. So that's the kind of exercise we're going through. And we're doing that through analytics, just to have a little bit more data.
Oh. It's funny, you know, I'm 20 years into this career now, and you'd kind of think that after 20 years, education wouldn't be the major part of the job anymore. But looking along this panel, I bet you every single one of you, education is still the biggest part of the job.
Yeah, we do that, like, at the end is work that we deliver to clients, but especially with very large company, we just educate them on what makes sense a little bit. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes not, but at least just the fact that no one even think about how last click may impact on the decision that you make on investing on awareness tactics, social media, or even display. Because yes, you can put a lot of money into display and hope that one day you will have a lot of customers, but now that you can measure it, you know, it makes sense to think about it in a more clever way. But again, it's about educating how people can better evaluate that, I guess.
Yeah. John?
Yeah, well, talk about education. I'm trying to get ready for the next show next month, and I'm always excited about doing this sort of thing because I'm out there learning and studying and just trying to keep ahead of all that's happening so I can ask intelligent questions and whatnot. So yeah, it just never stops, and I find it very exciting. I love doing it because it forces me to learn more and more, and it stretches you out, you know, and that's what's really fun to do. So,
Yeah. Kristin?
I have a show on Friday on Network Roundtable coming up, and conveniently, Dennis is not here, but he is the one that gave us the topic that came from these cards of core values. I'm a little nervous about tackling this show this Friday because it's on spirituality. So it's going to be interesting to try to do it in an inclusive way. And we already got some criticism last week from Fat Cheeks. Why can't I think of your name? I can see your face. Fat Cheeks.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. From Denver, saying that he felt that, you know, we were kind of leaning towards one way. And so I have a lot of homework to do, like for like learning inclusive language and how to incorporate it into a show format.
So
there really haven't been very many, you know, examples.
If you gave me the subject spirituality, I'd be straight away trying to find either an online off license or a distillery. You know, let's go for the real spirits. That's the way to go.
That's it.
Oh, we could have gone that direction. Oh.
Steve, what are you up to this coming week?
Let's see. This week, mostly I'm going to be spending a lot of time with the new client we just signed that has a $10,000 a month AdWords ad spend, and after 3 years have absolutely no idea if they've actually ever made any money with it.
Yeah, it happens, and I've seen it with even higher amounts.
And what blew their mind was the first thing I did was tell them we're going to go ahead and cut the ad budget in half. And they're like, well, why would you do that? It's like, because I want to make sure we're actually making money, and then we'll make more money.
Yeah.
But for now, let's cut the budget in half. And let's just be real focused on this one little teeny tiny aspect of your business and go from there. And they're just mind blown. They're like, wait, I don't understand. I'm confused. You can just write me the big check. I'm good.
With a lot of SEO agencies, you know, one of the things we'd actively be doing was always trying to wean them off AdWords as much as possible to just the ones that, you know, you need, where there's real good money there, and you want to be both organic and in the pay-per-click, or where you can't get the organic yet because it's going to take more time. You're a late player to a tough market. Yeah, let's focus where it counts.
Yep, 100%. They're in an incredibly brutal industry with staggering amounts of competition, and so pay-per-click is going to be a huge part of any marketing going forward. But as of right now, they have absolutely no idea of. They just know they're writing a check every month.
Yep.
So it'll be entertaining, that's for sure. And the education level going, you know, educating them back and forth is going to be fun. I like that part of it because I get to explain things.
Terry, what are you up to this week?
This week. Same as every week, I guess. I'll be looking at some PPC. Found a site where we've been getting leads from it that actually turn into sales. So I went to buy advertising on the site. They're charging by impression across the whole huge network. Half the pages aren't even relevant. So what I decided to do was, they also run Google ads, so I'll buy Google ads just on the pages that are relevant to what I'm looking to, where I was getting the leads from.
Yeah.
And of course, I've been beating on their door trying to write for
them. Bill.
Yes, what am I up to the next week, huh?
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time getting past to tonight's presentation. I'm looking forward to it so much that you know, it's a little bit difficult to turn to that next thing.
Careful, some of the clients may be watching going, what, he isn't thinking what he's going to do for us this week? Oh.
It's not every week you get to show off your dance moves.
All done. Yeah.
Bill lives in the moment.
Yeah. Ever since he moved out there, you know, he's just been getting more and more. He's turning into a real California boy, isn't he? You know.
It happens. No, I've got base camp. I've got to-do lists. I've got tasks that I work on over the weekend and get done 4 or 5 days before they're supposed to get finished because I like doing that stuff. You know,
I must admit, I just get jealous because I can't drop into these meetups. It's a little bit far for me, but yeah, I'm still saying I know that give him a year or two, he's going to be a Burning Man every year. He's going to become a total Valley boy or something, you know. Well, that's more than all our time this week. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and see you again another time.